Thanks for everybody coming out. Thanks for being flexible with the late location change due to the weather. So we'll go ahead and get started with interim head coach Brent Key. Coach, if you can open this up with some remarks looking ahead to North Carolina this weekend, then we'll take questions.
Yeah, apologize for being a little late. We actually had a little bit extended good-on-good period out there at practice, so it was good energy with those guys to end the practice today. And then, I'd be remiss if I didn't really send out, the entire football team's condolences to University of Virginia and to Coach Elliott and, the entire team, school, athletic association, really everyone involved with an extremely you can't even put it into words, situation that occurred there. And, really heavy on our hearts and heavy on my heart. And, a lot of time yesterday really thinking about that and thinking about them. So, again, all of our condolences are, sent to the entire UVA community and family. So, with that, we didn't make any announcements yesterday on anything in regards to injuries or football-wise because of the UVA tragedy that took place. So, we'll be able to get those things all cleared up and taken care of here today. So, first off, we just want to talk Zach. Unfortunately, Zach broke his collarbone in the game. It was in the third quarter. Ran up the middle, and look, it wasn't a crazy thing. He just kind of went down and to get a couple extra yards, and competitive nature that he is, and the competitive kid he is, and and the youthfulness too of understanding those situations of when to and when not to, and just what a great kid. Really, he was devastated that he felt like he let everybody down, and but he will be having surgery Thursday now, I believe, and to get it repaired, and it should be 100% full recovery for him. And look forward to having him back in the springtime. So, he had the one play, broke it. No one knew he broke it. He didn't know he broke it. Then the very next play was the one where we ran the kind of flea flicker reverse play. Dylan was going down the sideline, and you can see on tape where he drops his shoulder, and it causes the ball to be late and sail. Ends up being, unfortunately, an interception, and we saw right there, wow, something happened, and he came to the sideline, and right away we were able to take him in and begin to get it looked at. So, then. In regards to Jeff, Jeff won't be with the football team for really, kind of indefinitely now. We're indefinitely now. Had meetings with Jeff and, the doctors and the medical professionals, and came to the determination that it would be best for Jeff to not be in meetings or not be at practice, but be in treatment and in rehab now, kind of moving forward. So, again, decisions that are made are all made in the best interest of, like we've said since day one, made in the best interest of, the team, Georgia Tech, and for the health and safety of our players. So, had a disappointing result on Saturday night. We've already, talked about that. As a staff and as players, you move forward and, learn the lessons. And really the tell of the tape is, you look at our ability to get turnovers and to possess the football this season. It's been remarkable. It's been one or two, three in the country, and to have 4 turnovers in a game that was a field position game so much, it really flips the nature of the game really quickly. And 3 of those 4 were instances of going in, across the 30, 35-yard line, going in to the end zone. And if you go back and look at them, it was. It's really good learning moments for those quarterbacks. Of it was third and 12, third and 8, third and 12. The first one that Pyron had, and the kick line's the 32-yard line for a field goal in that game with the wind that was blowing and how it was blowing, and we ran an empty route, and he has the quick slant route to the field, and he took the go ball to Nate. Going for the home run, and really the learning lesson there is you'll never go broke taking a profit within the game of football. So be able to hit the shorter route on the side and possess the ball, possibly run for the first down, or at least stay in field goal range. And then the second one we already talked about with him. the gadget kind of going into the end zone. And then the two with Zach Gibson were both instances where he made the right decision on where to go with the football. They were playing a post safety in the middle of the field, and just those eyes start locking onto to where you're going with the ball and onto that receiver. That post safety, that's his job. He comes and robs either side of the hashes really. And on both of those times, one of it was on the far sideline to the right. Post safety came across, and the other one was throwing a seam route down in the red area, and unfortunately that was one that ended up getting returned. So those are things that the quarterbacks learn from, that everyone on the team learns from. You always learn from your mistakes. So we spent time on those. We actually showed those to the whole team on Sunday night, along with a handful of 10, 12 other plays that those guys, that the entire team can learn from, and take those learning instances and move on to carry them on to this week. So getting ready to play a really good North Carolina football team. They do a great job on offense. Really good quarterback, very talented, able to throw the ball, really good with his feet. He's sneaky fast, whether it's running a design quarterback draw or just taking off and scrambling. He does a really good job with his feet, and that's evidence with his 500-plus yards of rushing on the season. Josh Downs, the receiver, one of the best receivers in the country. They do a great job of creating matchups with him and putting him in the slot, whether it's at number 1, number 2, number 3, putting him in different spots to get those matchups with him. And he's a dynamic guy in those short area routes, as well as being able to take the top off the defense. And then they run the ball efficiently. They run the ball efficiently with, because everyone's sitting back trying to play the pass, and then they're able to run the ball at an efficient rate. So it'll be a big challenge for us this weekend. We're looking forward to it. Had a good day of practice today, and look forward to continue to prepare this week and get ready to play on Saturday.
Okay. Questions? If you have a question, please raise your hand. Got a microphone. We'll start right here with Kelly.
Is this drinkable? That's not drinkable.
Well, it's warm.
Unless
you want to warm it. That's a loaded question.
Yeah.
Brent, obviously, very different stylistically with Zach Gibson in there. Do you look at other things to give you some running options at quarterback? Obviously, the QB run has been a huge part of your offense, and you guys have struggled to run the ball in a traditional manner a lot.
Yeah. We'll look for any way to be able to run the football, whatever way that presents itself through the week, without getting into game plan situations. But, yeah, the ability to run the football, especially in this game, is going to be a real paramount thing that we've got to get done and find ways to do that. So, with that being said, it was, I thought the guys up front in the game last week on the offensive line did a good job of, running the football with the running back without the quarterback design runs. Is in the game, just Tay had a couple of really good runs, and felt that group, with Pierce being healthy and for the game, and Jordan popping inside and continuing to play at guard and having his second game at guard, those guys were able to put together a pretty good game up front. So really encouraged with that part of it, moving forward into this week of being able to continue to grow with those guys and continue to run the football.
Rod.
Preparing the defense, the scout team plays a big role with, some quarterbacks down now and you having to move some people around. Who do you run at quarterback to try to prepare the defense?
We've got a Heisman Trophy winner on the staff. So he's done a good job this week of, shedding a few pounds to be able to simulate the running ability of their quarterback. His arm's a little sore today because he's old, but he still got it. He still got it. With Chris? No, we've got guys to be able to do that, and there's plenty of guys to be able to simulate what they do. And the biggest portion of the simulation of their offense is the detail in the routes, the detail on the perimeter, the detail in getting those routes matched up and whatever coverage is being played at that time, being able to understand where certain people are in the formation, right, and then be able to match those routes with the coverage is called. So it's as much, when you prepare for that type of team, it's as much mental aspect from the back end and the linebackers as it is really the physical part of it. So we'll be fine with that.
Next. Ken?
I appreciate the update with Jeff. If I can ask, Was there kind of differences of thought about whether he could play or not, or at what point in making this decision?
The decision
About just about whether he was going to be able to play or not, and then ultimately leading into his just him being apart from the team.
Yeah, I mean, covered what did covered pretty in depth with what took place, and the thing with guys being hurt and guys being injured and those things is being medically cleared to play, and then it's easy to be, I won't say easy to be medically cleared, but it doesn't always mean that at that point in time you feel great. So, at that position, it becomes something that, how does that player, and really all positions, just because you on paper or medically can, I mean, there's every day you wake up and feel a little bit different. So, the ability to go out there and him to be the person that he wants to be on the field, didn't present itself at the time.
Next. Right here, Darren.
How do you think Nate McCollum has been able to stay consistent through 3 different quarterbacks this season?
Yeah, that's Nate. I mean, get him the ball. I mean, he is consistent. He's such a fun guy to be around day to day, but then fun guy to watch on the field with how he plays the game. I mean, if you watch Nate McCullum, he's one of those guys where you look at it and you say, that kid didn't sit around playing video games growing up. I mean, he was probably outside throwing the ball in the backyard, playing baseball. He was a good baseball player. Playing all the sports, and you can see that in the way he plays the game of football. Just that knack of being open, that knack of making a play, that knack of taking a reverse or a sweep and doing something with it. So, it really doesn't matter to him who the quarterback is. I mean, it matters to everyone who the quarterback is, but to him, when that ball's coming to him, the competitive juices in his body said, I'm going to get the ball. I'm going to be in the right position when that ball is. And then understanding the routes inside that slot to be able to run those nifty routes and get open regardless of who the ball's coming from.
Kelly?
I was just curious, kind of with Tyson and even Brody, who's been your signaler this year. Is it a situation where those guys get prepared now because the numbers? And I guess how do you deal with it's a weird situation to lose 2 quarterbacks, two guys who are your key guy. Like, kind of how do you keep the mood up with the team? I imagine there's some guys who would be down a little bit, or even within your staff and things like that.
I'm not. I mean, I hate it for the kids. That's the number one thing, But the injuries are part of the game. We understand that when we get into this profession. You understand that when you start to play the game of football. Injuries are part of it. And to sit around and complain and to sit around and be pissed about what you don't have, right? Well, all you're doing is wasting time getting better to get the next person ready, to have a better plan moving forward. All it is a waste of time to wallow in your own sorrows. I mean, who's got time to do that? We got a chance to play football this weekend. These kids have a chance to play football with each other again. So, and not only play football, but play a really dadgum good football team at their place, which everyone's excited about. So, you hate it for people that become injured, but you have to prepare the next person. You have to spend your time preparing the next person. You have to spend your time putting a plan together for those people. And that's what we're doing in full speed ahead. And, people that want to spend time thinking the other way, or, we don't have, there's not room around for them.
Rob?
Last year against North Carolina, you did a decent job on Josh Downs, maybe containing him a little better than everyone thought would happen. I think he's scored 11 touchdowns this year, averaging over 100 yards a game. What makes him so difficult to cover?
Well, he's a little slot machine now. I mean, he can run those inside routes, the option routes. Whether you and how they get him matched up based on your coverage. He understands the different coverages that you're going to play. He sees when the safety's playing over the top. He understands the wall defenders. He understands how to run those routes off of different players. So that's what makes him hard to guard, is because he's not just running a route and stopping right there. He's not just running a route, a post over the top. I mean, he's got 2 or 3 options on these things of where he's going based on the leverage of the defender. So if I'm running over here, to guard you, and then you have the ability to go there, not just sit there, it makes it hard. Well, if I go to where you're going to go and whip back out the other way, I mean, that's tough. So you've got to be very detailed and very disciplined in your coverage aspects of when you're guarding him. Well, then don't forget, he's run all those options. Well, he also has a chance to go over the top of you. So, being detailed in our underneath coverage, but also having help over the top to try to prevent those things, and that goes back now to Clayton and to Miles, to understanding their responsibilities within the coverage. Well, there's 4 receivers and a running back and a tight end on the field, so you can't just say, well, I'm going to take this guy away. There's other guys you have to be able to guard as well, and they've got really good skill across the board.
Jeff?
Just to clarify something you said at the beginning, Jeff is not going to be around the team during the week, so he won't even be on the sideline during the last 2 games or anything? Or?
Yeah, we haven't made travel lists for this week yet. So,
okay.
But no, he's in the training room.
All right.
He works in the training room for the time.
And since he's not here, obviously, does he seem to be in a decent frame of mind, or is there anything you could say about your interaction with him and after the last game?
He's frustrated. He has an injury that is preventing him from being able to be full speed.
And following up a earlier question too, as a coach, is it going to be? Do you think is your challenge sort of now making sure things stay somewhat on the rails here these last 2 games with 2 tough opponents and going on the road and having lost a couple quarterbacks and stuff? And I'm not saying how you were wired as a player. I'm just saying in general how you sort of address your players.
In the last 7 weeks, these kids have been through a lot. And I couldn't be more proud of these kids for the way they respond. And if you were on the practice field today and saw how they practiced and understood how you have to practice and understood when you come into the meetings, this is no different than 7 weeks ago when we sat in here and everyone asked about the challenges of how we keep the team together. Right? That took place 6 weeks ago. Every day you wake up, there's a challenge as a football coach. And every day you wake up, you want to make sure that your team is in a great frame of mind. Well, that comes back to myself, number 1, the coaches, number 2, the message that I give the coaches, and the message that the coaches give the players. And as long as that way is working, as long as the leadership on the team understands our message, but more importantly, I understand their message as well, right? Now you work together, and any of those issues that might occur, you put those things out early. So every day is a challenge in that regard, every day. And whether you coach for 1 year, 10 years, or 20 years, those are always going to be the challenges that you face. But you know what? Those are the things you love about being a coach too, because now you're going back and what you do on a daily basis impacts the lives of others, and that's what I love about being a coach. So, any challenges that come forward, that come to me or come to our staff or come to our players moving forward, we're going to hit it right in the face.
Time for 1 or 2 more, Ken.
To follow up on another question, Tyson and Brody, are you preparing them to be able to play against North Carolina?
Unless I go out there and play. No, quarterback. I can't throw a football, Ken. I mean, I learned to throw a football like 6 months ago. Wink actually showed me. I tried to today, and I think I threw my shoulder out. So it's gonna be tough sleeping tonight because I sleep with my arm underneath. But it's gonna hurt now. It really is. So no, but all the guys we've got enough quarterbacks to be able to take a snap, and we'll prepare all those guys at the highest level to get those guys to be able to play at their best on Saturday.
Kelly, go ahead and wrap this up, please.
Yeah, I'll try to get the train back on the tracks here. Just with Carolina, what do you see when you look? Obviously, Drake May is a great quarterback, and they have a really prolific offense. But kind of what do you see on both sides of the ball there, and what do you prepare for as a coach? Kind of watching without getting a game plan, obviously.
Yeah. So you start off the week on Sunday. And I'll kind of go through the whole week with you. All right. So you start off the week on Sunday, and you meet with the offensive staff, the defensive staff, the full staff, special teams, and you really put the previous game to bed. And then there's about a 3-hour span where you start to look at the next opponent. You're preparing your meetings. You're preparing team meetings, preparing the scouting reports, all those things for the upcoming opponent. Then you have your meetings, which you go through. You watch the previous game, have a team meeting, have a special teams meeting, break for dinner, then come back and do the scouting report practice for the next opponent. Well, then on Monday morning, early is the time that I sit down and I really look at all the analytical, statistical stuff. All right, so does it mean something? Yeah, it means something. Numbers mean things, but they don't mean everything. So it's when you look at those things, it's in relation to your own team and how your team is. So understanding your own team is the most important part. Understanding your personnel, understanding the mindset of your team. So now you take those stats and look at them and say, okay, well, we have an advantage of this. They have an advantage in this. They have an advantage in this. We don't here, so we have to overcome it, this, this, and this. So then you start to formulate that overall game plan for the week. All right, so then, that's from 7 till 8. From 8 till about 9, I start to watch all the special teams. And then going with offense for, 3 hours, and then defense after that. Come back together as a staff. Then we do a full staff and start to prepare practice for the next day. Meet with special teams again that afternoon. And by the end of Monday, you've taken all these things and put them together. And now you start to have your initial game plan for offense and defense and special teams, which you're going to practice on Tuesday, which was today. So by taking those things then on Monday night late, you say, okay, here's the initial offensive plan, because we met as a staff on Sunday and talked about it. We met as a staff again on Monday and talked about it, of we need to do this in this area, this in this area, this in this area. Now you start to pull those plans together and look at them and say, okay, from those 3 phases, here's what everyone's thinking. Well, it's easy for an offensive coordinator to have a plan, a defensive coordinator. Right? The job of the head coach is to make sure those 3 plans marry up to each other, and that they're cohesive and take advantages of strengths and weaknesses. Because you have to know everybody talks about knowing your strengths. Well, you better know your weaknesses, and then how you're going to overcome your weaknesses. Sometimes it's defense, sometimes it's offense, sometimes it's a kicking game. Maybe it's maybe there's a 12-yard difference in punt. Maybe there's a 5-yard difference in the punt return game. So you start to take that yardage and stack it together and say, okay, well, here's the difference we've got to make up. Now all of a sudden you start to make up 80 yards in a game plan here, 60 yards here. Well, now that becomes the length of the field. That becomes a scoring opportunity. So that's really how the whole thing goes together in putting the game plan. And then you kind of start the thing over on Tuesday afternoon after practice. You watch the practice. You go through Tuesday afternoon, you start watching more situational, the red area, third downs, those things, and then moving into the next day, the coming out, or backed up coming out, a little more short yardage goal line, some of those things. So it starts early in the week of looking at the big picture, looking at the opponent, understanding yourself, and then putting that plan together that'll be the best for who you are, offense, defense, and special teams, and then how your personnel is, and then how you match up versus their personnel. And there's many things within it, with working for matchups and where their strength is and how you're going to take those things away. So I know that's a long answer to a short question, but.
Okay, Coach, appreciate it.
All right, thanks, guys. Go Jackets. Thanks. That was the same way the other night. Just to follow, it was like you recorded it and replayed it the same way you said, just to follow back up.
It's all about the follow-ups.
Good to see you.